entrepreneurs are absolute outliers.
Would you pick corporate over entrepreneurship?
No, never. So there are people designed for systems, and there are people designed to make systems. I would always pick the part of leading an economy than being a tiny part of a system. When you speak to 10 entrepreneurs, I can guarantee that 10 of them failed like 3 times. Book smart, street smart, a little bit of mafia. Because the business world is a war zone. Even when you are not a threat, someone is trying to remove you because he's hoping you can become a threat. People are trying to win monopoly of the market at every point in time. So you must find a combination of book smart and street smart.
Hello everyone, once again welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurs Connect show. As always, you know how we do it here. Keep it real. Interview people who have built or are building businesses in Africa. To learn from them, what's the journey like? What are the stories? What is success like? What's failure like? What are the lessons they've learned in between? And today, as always, we have an amazing guest in the house. Somebody I've followed for the past, I've been following you for 10 years now, funny enough.
Yeah,
so somebody I've followed since early 2015. This is 2025 now. And I have the privilege of hosting him on the show. Is no other person than the principal himself, Mr. Olumati Isaiah. Drum rolls. Click. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's a long time coming.
Sure.
I went to his DM backstory a few days ago, and I told him, "You owe me. I've come to collect my debts." And he's like, "How much?" And I'm like, "No, we're supposed to record the podcast together." And then he goes, "Let's do it." And finally, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So yes, this will be a real privilege to unpack from the wealth of your knowledge, especially because you're not writing a lot and sharing a lot these days.
Yeah.
So let's come and draw. Put it down. Let's draw it. The ones you're not writing.
I stopped writing because that space where we operate a lot, right?
Yeah.
There are different minds, and it's interesting how, like I keep saying, that people have the affinity for great fashion, but not great thinking. So that becomes a problem.
People have affinity for great
fashion, but not great thinking.
Unpack that. Let's start.
So because they have a great affinity for great fashion, you look at them, and because of the excellency of their dress sense, you assume that they are wise.
Okay.
Until you engage in a conversation. And I have realized that written text is often most misconstrued. Because the same things I share with people when I write.
Yes.
And they disagree. I share with them when I speak, and they agree. Because people misinterpret written text. It doesn't allow you sometimes the expression, the necessary expressions, all of the necessary innuendos, gesticulations, facial expressions, and all of that.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, and then of course, because we have a great number of people who constitute a high level of nuisance, it now appears to be one casting his spells to swines. So in understanding this, I decided to refrain. There is no need, right? Putting out so much to a people that cannot grasp the understanding. I would rather be in a space. And it has also affected my speaking stuff. I decline a lot of virtual events. So people invite me for virtual events and that, because there's an energy in the room that communicates differently from the virtual energy. And I want people to understand, because for me, every activity I do is a means to something else. So every time I don't find me getting to that place, and it's not about something being necessarily beneficial to me.
Yeah.
It's an outcome, it's a result. And every time I find activities that do not lead to that outcome or that result, I disengage.
Got it.
So I would write, I would write lesser words. I would speak lesser in that space, and then have to deal with real things on site.
Got it. So what was life like growing up for you?
Life growing up was interesting. It was nice. It was frustrating. Yes, and the nice part of life growing up is that I was born in the city of Lagos.
Okay.
I was born around Morocco. Morocco today is called Victoria Island.
Oh, okay.
So I was born in Morocco. Not too long, we moved to Krikri town. So I grew up by the sea, for Cardoso Close, just by the sea. It was lovely because within the space or the time where I was born, there were more white colored skinned people, basically Lebanese, and there were other races around. And then we had a settlement of Elijah people. So I would love to think we were middle class. And then we had these white colored skin guys who were apparently richer. And then we had the Elijah people. And it was just so close knit. It was a triangle. So I'm able to see this life. I'm able to see this life. I'm able to experience this life. That is, I'm able to see the abjectly poor people.
Yeah.
I'm able to see the wealthy people. And I'm experiencing the middle class life.
Yeah.
Right? So that shaped my perspective very quickly about life and its operation. Very quickly. Seeing three worlds in one small space in my formative days, right? So, and of course, I had the blessing of experimenting. So quite early, speak out when all of those debate shows on TV, and I'm struggling to remember them right now, but it was quite interesting. It was quite interesting. I had the opportunity of attending a very nice primary school that was not exactly nicely built. One of the best you could find
In terms of quality of
quality of learning,
Sure.
yet not in the best location. Right? And that also, registered something with me, that you could really find diamonds in very unusual places. Because at different times, I would remember my landlord, who was a high-ranked officer in the customs, complain about his children who attended that school. It was a really expensive school there. They found it difficult to read.
But you who attended
But
business school.
I could read well, and my school had a wooden fence. It was wood, backward used in doing it, and then it was uncompleted at the top. It was not really floored very well, but I could read. I spoke way better than his children. I thought that we spoke, myself and my brothers, way better than his children. And it was driving him crazy a lot of the time. And so early enough, it registered a lot for me, But then we still had ups and downs, though I was from middle class. My mother decided that she wanted to venture into sales of commodity. That was the rise of sachet water that we call pure water in these parts of the world. How do I explain this to our international audience? Pure water is water that is pure in a sachet. Whatever that means. Yeah. Now, I had the opportunity also to hawk that.
Oh.
Yeah, I did that.
What's the experience like? It was going around that. Was it as a kid?
It was cool. And we didn't go out much, to be fair. I mean, we had this, and it was not because we needed it. I think as kids, we wanted to help my mom, and then we felt like, these people work here, there's an opportunity, so we put it together, and put ice block, put it on our heads and go all the way. And my mom had no choice but to give into it at some point. It was fun for us, but that experience taught me empathy, to see people really work and see that they needed what I had to be productive. So now I do not see business from the point of profit. I see business from the point of literally saving someone's life to allow him find expression at what he does.
So, at what point did you move back to Port Harcourt from Lagos?
I moved back to Port Harcourt in 2024.
So, you moved back to Port Harcourt from Lagos?
In 2004. 2004?
2000. This man literally ran the election.
It's 2004. I back to Port Harcourt in 2004. And I moved back to Port Harcourt because my dad was, I tried to gain admission in the University of Lagos, UNILAG, and my dad was big on having me to study back home.
Yeah, because where you're from.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. And he needed me to interact with the space, where I'm from. And he felt that it would have been easier also gaining admission here, owing to the fact that, I have an indigent of the space. So I go back to Port Harcourt at that time. And I got into Port Harcourt and I just knew I was not going to leave again. Yeah, coming from Lagos and having my kind of mind.
Yeah.
As soon as I entered, one of the first things I said to myself was, this space is virgin. This space is virgin. I can grow here. I can thrive here. Though for the first few years, it was difficult. It was difficult because Lagos was miles ahead of the space. Yeah, we had companies, big companies, I said that, but the operations, the people operations, the thinking, the media availability was on the low. I mean, top of my head, we had several TV stations, several radio stations in Lagos. Media was already thriving, but then wasn't same back home. We didn't have all of the options. They had RS TV and NT, and that was the most that they had, right? They still used to have their television, program start at 4 p.m., which was weird. If you're coming from where I'm coming. Yeah. So, but I mean, it was a thing of time. I knew that at some point we would get to where it's viable. Are we there yet? No, I don't think. We're still trying to close the gap. It may take a while, but I think I was really right. The space was virgin, and it needed people who were going to step in and take the lead.
Now you're in Port Harcourt. Obviously, you're going to start doing business and all of that. What was the first kind of business you ever did?
The first kind of business I ever did was multi-level marketing.
Interesting.
And it failed.
Who convinced you to?
I think it was my mom that convinced me. I can't even remember that. It was my mom that convinced me. She talked me into it. It's like, oh, you speak so well, you organize so well, you put people together so well, so you're able to do this. But quite frankly, it failed for a lack of knowledge. Quite frankly. So multi-level marketing in this country forever has been a hustle kind of thing. People have not really had the understanding of how it operates, and so you just bring people in hoping that it's sustained, and people don't even understand that for many of the companies, multi-level marketing is a market entry strategy. So once they are able to break even, get what they want, the entire structure is dismantled, and it's gone. And people who, in fact, it seemed to favor early starters.
Yeah.
It seemed to favor early starters. So I didn't have the knowledge of how that really operated. My mom was big on it. She felt that would be a plus if we joined. So I think I tried 2 or 3 times. Nah, let it go. It was not my thing.
You ever worked in corporate?
Yes, I have.
Would you pick corporate over entrepreneurship?
No, never.
Why?
So working in corporate is good, right? But what working in corporate does is that it makes you a part of an entire system. It limits you to that function of productivity you bring for the system. But working in that entrepreneurship space doesn't make you a part of the system. It makes you a leader of economy. So I would always pick the part of leading an economy, regardless of how small that economic part is, than being a tiny part of a system trying to lead an economy.
Help me understand this.
So,
the corporates, you're doing, let's say, like 200 million naira per year, one of these high level corporate organizations, and then you're part of the system.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, you're doing maybe 15 million per year, thereabout. So you're saying you're going to pick entrepreneurship over that corporate?
Yes, I will pick over that corporate. Now, what you see, the last time I worked in corporate, we do every quarter about $1 million US, right? And it's not about the pay, but I just want to break it down from where you're coming from. So we do that amount of money. How much was I paid? 190 after deduction, 150. That's what I was paid. So when you hear the total revenue in terms of gross, it's big. What's your stake in that total revenue? Almost negligible, right? But that's not the issue for me. The issue for me is that I'm a part of a tiny aspect of a large conglomerate that is shaping culture. I want to be at the head of shaping culture. I want to be at the head. I want to be the spearhead to driving shaping culture. I want to be able to fix things how I see. So you have most of the large corporations, they're even difficult to move. They're difficult to change. They're difficult to transform. So you are at the point where you have to just take instructions and deliver and have a long chain of people to convince over having to change something. And if you can't convince them, if they're unwilling to be convinced, then there's nothing you can do about it. So you just play the garbage in, garbage out. Company already has a structure of operations and you have to stick to the structure of operation. However, being in that space of entrepreneurship, awesome. Like I said, it allows you become a very vital contributor to economics. It also allows you to become a blessing to people because the people who work with you now depend on you and what you do for their own survival and their own families. And also bear in mind that large corporation started just the same way that small corporation started. And it's only a matter of time and a few principles and definitely consistency before that small organization will become as big as that big organization. Do you see? So I would rather be a part of something at that level than become a part of that.
Yeah. So, therefore, that the whole entrepreneurship thing does not work for.
Yeah.
So they rather be like have that job security and money security and all of that basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's what we want as entrepreneurs, but it's not general. Would you say that entrepreneurs are like outliers?
Apparently, they're outliers. Entrepreneurs are crazy people, for the lack of a better word. They are crazy in that sense, and also they are people with extreme faith. That's how entrepreneurship works. You have to be crazy to believe that you can create a product that people want or create a service that people want. And be hopeful enough that you can put a price on it that people are willing to pay. So apparently they are outliers. And definitely everybody cannot be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There has to be subjects and the king. It has to work that. There has to be the shoemaker and there has to be the shoe shiner.
Yeah.
This brings balance to our life.
Yeah.
I tell people, don't speak entrepreneurship so much without speaking entrepreneurship. It has to be a balance. There must be the people who are willing to take risk and the people who are willing to become the support system to that risk.
Yeah.
Right? So, entrepreneurs are absolute outliers. Especially because when you speak to 10 entrepreneurs, I can guarantee that 10 of them failed like 3 times.
Yes, true.
And they keep going back to
True.
it. And they keep going back to it. Not everybody has the courage to keep going back to something that doesn't work. And trust me, there are people that I know. And not to put anybody out. My dad, you give him $1 billion for business, that money is gone. The business will not work. But you see, my dad is a fantastic accountant. Take him, put him into any business that requires an accountant. that business will thrive. So there are people designed for systems, and there are people designed to make systems. That's how it works.
That's very profound.
Yeah.
So now this is your multi-level marketing. You failed, and that. What did you do next? How did you navigate life going forward? What other things did you do?
Since multi-level marketing didn't work, I did struggle. I had already known right from my primary school days that I was not designed to work in any organization.
Yeah.
I've always been designed for business. Interestingly, I've always had my eyes for the entertainment and the creative industry. I've always been big on Sunday music. Gracefully, I came to this world with a gift of music. Like I played the keyboard. I think I'm rusty now. I've not touched the keyboard in like forever. I used to play the drums, taught a couple of people. Then I sing, and started from way back, myself and my siblings. So I just knew I was not designed for all of this. I was designed for that place. So what I did going forward was I decided to pay attention to the entertainment. I decided to pay attention to the entertainment. I already realized that for my mind, how I think, I realized quite early. So I worked with one of the then biggest e-commerce store in Nigeria when they were expanding to the south. Just 2 years after my NYSC, I got recruited by them, and I was uncomfortable with some of their approach. But beyond that, I was recruited as a sales rep. So our job essentially was to get people to buy into the idea of the company.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working. They were doing everything and it wasn't working. And one day I sat back. I said to my manager, I said, do you know why this is not working? It's because it's anti-culture, the people. If we can't factor their cultural reality, we will not be able to break even. So she says, what do we do? I said, education has to be part of what we do. So we have to have small business meetings, get people into a room, teach them about how it works, make sure they are able to use it, because that was when the internet was trying to find expression in the country.
Yeah.
And so people were not very familiar with manipulating websites. Let's not talk more of an e-commerce platform. The South was at another level of low with internet penetration. So for me, the best idea was get these people into a room, teach them how to do it, and then let them have an incentive, which is what we did. And it worked. This company was making money. But then I sat back again one of those days and I just realized I just did free consulting for this company. And this free consulting is interesting because that's how I lose my job. Because if everybody or a good number of people can operate on this platform and this company breaks even, they don't need me, no? Wow. Once that hit me, I resigned 2 months after. But this is the big gist. So I resigned. My upline, my manager feels I'm crazy. She's complaining, Olumati, you can't do this, you can't do that. I said, let me just tell you. If you survive more than 6 months in this company, you must be a genius. Long and short of the story, they fired all of them.
Crazy.
They didn't need them no more. And they hit me. I got consulting on the inside of me. Consulting, really can be learned. You have to have a degree of thinking to be able to solve problems in consulting. So that's how I went into consulting. So I had entertainment on the one hand, and then I had consulting on the other hand. And I've done these two for the longest of time.
Now, you pioneered what we'll call like the music business industry in the South.
Yeah.
Basically. And I mean, when everybody was going to Lagos, everybody was doing all those things, you were finding talents and all of that. How did you start Myra's Empire?
I started Myra's Empire for myself and my brothers, interestingly. So Myra's Empire was initially GTMG, Gold Tunes Music Group.
Okay.
That's what it was. And then we had my group. At some point, we had the absolute iconic Afi Douglas. Every time I think of Afi Douglas, it gives me chills. People don't know how much musicianship lies in that man. So we had Afi Douglas. At the point, we had GUC.
GUC too?
Yeah, GUC was signed to GTMG.
Oh, wow.
And it was GUC that introduced me to Sammy Hart. And Sammy Hart was on. Now, Myra's Empire came about this way. So when I was ready to transit, then we're going to sign a new set of persons.
Yeah.
I needed to register GTMG because it was not officially registered. And then I went to the CAC and realized that the name has been taken. In that period, I was a little confused. But I reached out to my younger brother, Sharkman. And he was the one that gave me the name Myra's Empire. It's Greek word for extraordinary. And I'm like, okay, that works. And that's how I registered Myra's Empire. I think that was sometime in 2015. And so we registered Myra's Empire. And that's how Myra's Empire came.
Wow. So, I mean, you discovered great artists that we have.
Yeah, I have an eye for talent.
A lot of them, especially Prince Bonner, and he was signed to you at some point. So how did you find that guy?
Still again, I think the credit goes to Sotanye Jumbo and what's his name, GUC, because Prince was producing for GUC. Was producing for GUC. So both of them led me to Prince. Right. I needed to know the guy who was there. Sotanye put in such a strong words, for Prince. But trust me, his words were not as strong as when I met Prince. When somebody tells you someone is good, and then you experience the person and he's extremely, extremely, extremely good, and you're like, no, you didn't do justice to saying this guy is good. But Prince is absolutely talented. Prince did not even know that he had that much genius. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. We're always the gifted people are always the last to know how gifted they are. And that's really because we wake up with a gift.
Yeah.
It's in you. It's in you.
There's nothing about belittling your genius.
You will always, everybody belittles their geniuses. Nobody knows how much of a genius they are. It's impossible for anybody. Anybody who thinks he's a genius by 100% is certainly a genius by 1,000%. You will never know how much of a genius you are. So that's how I came about Prince. I still remember the place. I mean, you don't want to see where we found Prince, because you would never be able to marry both realities, where we found Prince and where Prince is. You'd never be able to marry. So yes, that's how we got to. That's how we found Prince. There was Sotanye Jumbo, Faithful George Will, Ruzel Hams, Sammy Hart.
Then Pamela Scott are there for it.
Look, Pamela Scott was a relationship kind of thing. It's not like she worked with us directly. People who work with us, Mercy Chinwo.
Oh, wow, Mercy as well.
Yeah. So we covered a whole lot of responsibility and management for Killing and Berry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you'll find our imprint on his album. So all the background works here. And a couple of other people that we worked with over the years.
Nice. So how do you see the music business in this part of the world, basically?
The music business in this part of the world is still emerging, very emerging. But like I keep saying, and then when you say this part of the world, one has to also be careful.
Yeah.
Because this part of the world, are we saying this part of the world as Rivers State, where we are recording from? Or are we saying this part of the world as Nigeria? Or are we saying this part of the world as Africa?
South Nigeria.
The South Nigeria, that's good. So the music business in the South Nigeria is emerging, right? However, the good thing is that the music business gap has been closed. It's a borderless world now. So I tell people, do not worry about music business within the small nucleuses of region.
Yeah.
Worry about music business in the larger frame. Look at Nigeria, look at Africa. Because people will get talented people who are visible enough, regardless of where they are from.
Yeah.
Whether you are farmers or you are farmers, people will pay to see you. More so, contrary to what is out there, we do not have enough entertainers to feed this country. Yes. And the reason why we do not have enough entertainers to feed this country is because Nigeria feeds all of Africa, not West Africa, all of Africa, Europe, America, Asia. So at no time are we going to have enough people to be able to service the entertainment need of this country, because the people who are going to be servicing the needs are those who are visible enough. And once you are visible enough, you're most likely serving the world. So there is always a gap in the industry. So we're in an emerging space. The music business, the entertainment business is still such a blue ocean. And anybody get into the music business now, the music business is way better than when I started. There's more profits in the music business. There's more demand on the music business than when I started. Anybody getting into the music business now is on the right path. By the way, entertainment is listed as one of the top 7 most viable, most assured business to making you a billionaire by Forbes.
That's interesting. Let's say this is 2024 now.
Yeah.
You're about to start Myra's empire again, like you did back in 2015.
Yeah.
What would you do differently?
Oh, the first thing I would do differently, tame my arrogance. So, and this is the first time I'm saying it now. So this is what happened with Myra's. First, I hoped that I was a miracle worker and I signed 6 people at the same time.
Oh,
it stretched my finances. It stretched my finances. You have to record for this. You have to record for this. It stretched my finances. And that's why I said, tame my arrogance. I think I was arrogant enough to think that I could do it all by myself. Secondly, find partners and investors. That's what we are doing right now. All through that time, we were self-funded. I funded.
you're bootstrapping.
I was serious bootstrapping. 3, we hoped that somehow we could shape culture, because the bulk of our music wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
It was alternative. We were trying to make sure that the people agree with our idea of music.
Instead of just giving them what they want.
So we were not creating market fit music.
Yeah.
We actually created future music. What we were doing then is now what is prevalent now.
Yeah.
So the market loved what we were doing, but the market was not buying into what we were doing. You just hear, oh, these guys are good, these guys are fantastic. That could not break mainstream, right? So these things I'd never do. Now I ask myself, what does the market want? And how do I infuse our genius into what the market wants, as against forcing the market to take what we have?
Yeah.
Do you get? So did we record success? Yes, but we would have done better and faster if we had complied with what the market really wants. But we were arrogant enough to think that we were all that after sliced bread, to make sure things can happen, to see that we can literally bootstrap our way up. Yeah, no, I ain't doing that no more.
I mean, but what you did was very important,
Yeah.
and very necessary to shape culture. I mean, like you wrote a few years back about Thames Love Me Jaja.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had to stand on somebody else's shoulder to be able to produce what she produced. I mean, if you look at Prince Emmanuel today, for example, his journey with Myra was a very important part of his life to get him to where he is.
When I look at Prince Emmanuel, I'm really happy to where he's come, because getting to what you have now, it didn't happen by chance.
Yeah.
It didn't happen by chance. There is music and there's talent development. And in that talent development part, you now have to understand how to create market fit content in terms of the song, what can work and how to transition. And that transition is even a very difficult transition, because Prince is predominantly a gospel artist, and what he does is not mainstream gospel sound in terms of what people have been used to, what we conventionally refer to as praise and worship. And Prince has been the first person to break even at this level, probably through the last 30 years. Because I mean, who broke even the most? There was Brother Martins. Shout out to Brother Martins. I don't know where he is, but as a child, I listened to his works, Munshi Olunsha, and all of those things. Brother Martins was big. I think if there was anybody that came close with a more conventional sound after Brother Martins, it was Apostle J.D. Kosita. No, after that, nobody came close to doing something that went and is going the whole of Nigeria. So you can imagine the amount of years between these people and Prince. So it's phenomenal what it's become. And I'm glad we're part of that history. So I'm glad we're able to understand the operations, because that's the finest level of talent development into the space. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you've been doing consulting for a while.
Yes.
As well. So you've been directed a lot of businesses, strategy, and all of that. What's one common mistake you see a lot of business people make that you have been correcting, but people don't just seem to get it?
Insisting to follow their emotions over data. I mean, data never.
Can you unpack that a little?
So a lot of businesses business leaders are more emotional. They want to do something because they think, they assume, they suspect. But you can't do things because you think, you assume, or you suspect. You have to be sure that you are following data, and in most cases, culture. So if you are following data, you can't get it wrong. Data never lies. It never goes wrong. And if you are paying attention to culture, it's even easier to innovate, if there's no data for it, but you can appreciate the movement of human behavior. You can see how human behavior moves, right? You know that, okay, this works, right? But there are a lot of times they insist on how they feel, what they think, as against paying attention to data. And we need to start learning how to pay attention to data. Many Nigerian businesses, especially startups, don't pay attention to data. I suspect that one of the reasons is because they are all trying to survive. So someone comes and says, oh, I did XYZ and I made XYZ results.
Yeah.
And they are jumping on it. They are not checking if this is the exception to the rule, or if this is principle, or if there's data enough to back this up. They jump on it. So once people start paying attention to data, I think they'll do very well. But that's a common challenge we've always had. Another challenge we've always had is the gap for training is too wide. The gap for training. Companies are investing less and less and less into training their staff. They're investing less and less into training their staff. Oftentimes they want to get someone in to train when they're really experiencing a downtime. And training should be a continuous process. You see, the reason why training should be a continuous process is I keep saying that Africa essentially is behind the world. It's behind the world. And so when they say Africa is emerging, it's with every sense of correctness that Africa is emerging. We are Nigerians, right? So basically, being Nigerians, the internet at its best emerging phase broke out in the world in 1960. In 1960, Nigeria had its independence, while the rest of the world was exploring with the possibility of the internet. Nigeria had our independence. MasterCards became in use in 1963. Nigeria had our own MasterCard experience in 2001, 2002, 2003. Look at the amount of time. And Africa generally has continued to experience things that the world has moved a whole long time away from before we experience it. So what does that tell you? Whether it's our educational system, and I can keep showing you these examples in many areas, whether it's our educational system or our business systems. We are not exactly in touch with the global ideas. So businesses that are not training their people are most likely living on the edge of obsolete knowledge. And that is why a lot of times they are unable to advance quickly. They are unable to innovate quickly. They are unable to see new opportunities because, of course, they are not paying attention to statistics. They are not paying attention to global organizations and operations, and they are not paying attention to culture. If you pay attention to culture, you will know what to change quickly. You will know when to change what to change. You will know how to change what to change. If you pay attention to the globe, you will know what to begin to integrate, what to begin to anticipate, and how to innovate on your business to fit what is coming. Because what is coming will come. The question is, how prepared are you for it? If you are not prepared, you'll go obsolete. If you're prepared, you'll stay relevant.
That's something. So, book smart or street smart?
Both. Why? So at the highest level of business success, right? Street smart doesn't work. Book smart works because you're dealing with a lot of contracts. In beginning the business, book smart, street smart, they both work. Because you are dealing with both kinds of person at every point in time. In fact, book smart, street smart, a little bit of mafia. Because the business world is a war zone. Even when you are not a threat, someone is trying to remove you because he's hoping you can become a threat. People are trying to win monopoly of the market at every point in time, right? So you must find a combination of book smart and street smart. If all you have is street smart, you'll probably be cheated by your lawyer, you'll be cheated by your accountant, you'll be cheated by your staff. But if you are both book smart and street smart, you'll be able to find that interplay easily. In fact, street smart helps you with relationships much more than book smart. Street smart helps you with relationship. You know how to relate with the great man. You know how to relate with the person who has the ears to the person you need to meet at every point in time. And book smart helps you to understand how the law works, how the policy works, where and how to innovate, and how to lead your people faster to where you are going. You must have that dual ability, at all points in time, especially if you are starting a business in Africa, anywhere in Africa. You've got to be street smart and you've got to be book smart.
Awesome. Courage is something like every entrepreneur needs, sure. Because you need to break new grounds, you need to pursue things and all of that. How does the upbringing of a person play a role in how courageous they become over time?
It's everything. It's everything. Psychologists will insist that the behavior of a child is formed completely at age 5. And any child that has not learned to be brave at age 5 would most likely be one who is designed to consistently give up. And because the entrepreneurial space is one that plays highly on your emotions, if you don't have courage, you would give up very soon and very quick. You give up very quick. However, courage must be mixed with knowledge and wisdom too.
Yeah.
Because you can have courage unto nothing. There are people who are courageously, consistently in the wrong direction, are bold about it, and they are hopeful. They are courageous, hopeful, consistent at the wrong thing. They will suffer courageously. But if you have courage as a quality, because again, not just business, the life of a man essentially is always up and down. It's undulating. It's like a sinusoidal wave. So there will be times you will be down. You need the courage to get back up. So courage is a necessary ingredient for business, especially if you have business in the African space. Let me share something with you. So I decided I wanted to find business expression in logistics. At the time when logistics company became a thing after the lockdown, and we needed to close that delivery gap, or within the lockdown towards. So I was able to raise money from an investor, and it was time bound. It was time bound for about a year or so. We got the bikes, we got everything ready, had complimentary cards, had sent out employment letter and stuff. The day we were opening the brand was the day the government put a policy to shut down all logistics.
I remember that period. That's crazy.
So we moved from a promising company idea to minus some millions because we're indebted. We did everything we needed to do to see that we could get that company running in terms of the requirements which the government made. We submitted documents upon documents, and it was never responded to. So that business died on arrival. That's the literal dead on arrival. Right? But I'm still in business, not the logistics business anyway. But the point is, I'm still in business. Some other people would go somewhere, coil, and hope to die. I'd say, okay, we're out of this, right? You definitely would lose money when doing business. You will lose the best staff. You will lose products. You will lose opportunity. If you don't have courage, you'd not be able to come back and give it another try.
100%.
Yeah.
If you lost everything today,
yeah,
how would you start all over again?
If I lost everything today, how would I start all over? I think the two most important things for me is my brains and people. As long as I have people, and as long as I have my head, I can start all over. Right? There are different services. Like I say, consulting is really a very important part because a lot of people who don't know how to think strategically. Strategic thinking is, and interestingly, it's not a gift of nature. How I got to this point, I don't know, but I'm tempted to think it's a gift of nature for me, but I know it's not a gift of nature, right? So as long as you can help people find their way through their challenges, and so I went in this way first because it's intangible. If you can help people find their way through that industry, but that's one. Two, integrity is a way. I've done business with a lot of people. I have trust with a lot of people. All I'd probably do is get into a business that requires a sense of commodity. Commodity, so many people want it. Something everybody will need at some point in their history. So once you get into that box, bounce back. I can also always rely back on entertainment. So I need anything, right? I really don't need to touch anything. But they say, no, one of the things we did at Myra in the initial, we can have all of the capital. We sourced for the talent. We looked for the producer. I had that reputation. So I traded reputation for paying for recordings. Because if the producer records me, it is not his reputation, it is my reputation. So other people want to work with the producer, not necessarily because of him, but because of what he did for me. So they trust my excellence, that if I get this producer and I've been able to come out with this level of excellence, then they can work with him. But this is the trick. They now have to go through me. So what happens? The producer does not take his value. They take my value. My value in that time was superior to their value. So if the producer is going to do like 100K, because he comes through me, he does 200K.
Nice. So finally, this is how we wrap up. Okay, people have watched this podcast, this episode. People are wow, they're inspired. They're asking themselves, what manner of man is this? Even the winds and the waves. I want to ask, what are you still trying to figure out at this point in your life?
Quite frankly, I'm still trying to figure out human behavior. Mind you, in the last 2 years, I found myself within the space of politics. And it has been from one level of shock to another. From one level of smackhead realization to another. And I feel like I may never get a hang on it, because human behavior is shocking, but more is the fact that it changes fast. So I still cannot say I fully understand it or have a grasp on it. And because you don't understand it or have a grasp on it, and I don't think anybody really does, we may think that we have, we may think that we do or we get it at some point, but there are circumstances within which you find yourself, like, okay, people think like this, people operate like this, people work like this. It affects everything about you. It affects your emotions. It affects how you think and see people. It affects how your business operates, because you are able to understand essentially how people are. I mean, there are books and books and books and books. When you are done reading this, when you are done studying, you will realize that there's a difference between fine prints and actual happenstance. Right. So I've never been able to understand that. I think I have a good grasp of many things in life, but humans, I'm still struggling to figure them out in many areas. One moment I think I have the right thoughts for it, and another moment I'm like, no, fam, it doesn't even work that way. So hopefully one day we'll have a grasp on it. I'll never tell.
Oh, this episode has been insightful. Trust me, there are more things to unpack, but we have to pack our time right now.
Right.
So we should definitely do this again. I don't know how long it's going to take us to do that. But we should definitely do this again.
We will.
All right, thank you very much for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. Tell people, where's your camera now? Here. Yeah, tell them to subscribe to the channel.
Please subscribe to the channel. So much value to get. It's a life hack, literally.
All right, then thank you very much for coming. Guys, stay tuned. Next week we'll bring you another episode. Till then, see you later and cheers.